So, Dawn Shard, the second novella in the Stormlight Archives. It was just released. I think it's now available for everyone, Kickstarter backer or not. And it's the novella that takes place after Oathbringer and will take us into Rhythm of War. And so I wanted to talk about this book. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review followed by a little spoilerly freak-out discussion section at the very end. But although I'm going to be spoiler-free about the contents of Dawn Shard itself, I have to be able to talk about things that have happened in the other Stormlight books to really set this up. They're not major spoilers for like the main characters or the main plot threads, but if you like to know nothing about a series before reading it, I'm going to be talking about some interlude characters and interlude scenes to talk about what's happening in Dawn Shard. So just know that. Like I said, it's only minor spoilers for those events. I'm not going to be talking about big arcs in Oathbringer or Words of Radiance, but I can't talk about why I really like this story without talking about the setup, and I can't talk about the setup without talking about Oathbringer. That's just where we're at. If you just want to know if you should read Dawn Shard, you already know that. You already know if you want to read Dawn Shard or not because you've had to get through 3 epic tomes to get to this point. I will say, if at the end of this spoiler section, if I recommend it or not before Rhythm of War, since I know not everyone has the time to get to Dawn Shard right before Rhythm of War comes out. But remember, all my recommendation is based off the fact that I've only read Dawn Shard. I have not read Rhythm of War yet. That is happening on Tuesday, and I am super excited. So, why do I like this story? Well, it has Rhysand, one of my favorite interlude characters. It has Lopen, who's pretty funny, and it kind of picks off where one of the interlude stories lets off. So one of the interlude stories in Oathbringer is this soulcaster who is traveling to this mysterious island that has its own storm. Storms are pretty common in the Stormlight Archive, but this is like its own weird storm. And when she gets to that island, there's like this creme beast, like something we saw in Edgedancer, and then it ends. And we don't know why this island is so important. We don't know why these creme people care about it. It's crazy. We are gonna go back to that island in this novella, which is super exciting to me because that was an interlude where I was like, I want more. Why are we not there? It's kind of a tangent side quest, right? It's not that important to the Stormlight Archives at large right now. So that's why it was in an interlude. And that's why now it's in this novella, because these novellas tend to be more side quest, not essential plot arc moments. And Rhysand is the perfect character to send on this mission. So Rhysand's been a traitor we've been following, I think, throughout all of the Stormlight books, and she starts off pretty arrogant, doesn't understand other cultures. Her master trader is like really good at knowing cool trades, and by the end of Oathbringer, she has, through a bad situation, become paralyzed. Her legs are paralyzed because of a situation she had in Oathbringer, but she does have this really cool pet named Cheery Cheery who can suck Stormlight, and she was pretty important at the end of Oathbringer, helping our main characters understand, oh, this item is important. So that is all to say, though, she used to be someone who wanted to travel the world to trade and finds herself in a wheelchair and disabled, and she has to deal with that depression. That's where this story picks up. Her master at the end of Oathbringer is like, I got you a ship. I want you to be the person on this ship to go do trading for me. I'm your investor. Go do this. Get out of this cellar where you're doing accounting. You need to still travel. And I love watching Rhysand work through her depression and realize being disabled does not mean she can no longer do what she loves to do. And I just think that representation was really good in this book. I'm not paralyzed in my legs. I am not physically disabled in any major way, but I do know Sanderson did put out like kind of notices on like Facebook and other social media asking for people who have this disability to talk to him so he could get insight into how people think and exist with this so he could properly represent it on the page. As of right now, I couldn't find Own Voices reviews, but it seems like he did his best attempt to do a proper research for it. And more importantly, any drama that happens in this story has nothing to do with her disability. Yes, there is discussion about it. It's a part of her life. She can't avoid it. It's not hidden and shoved away. but she actually has conflict with people on this ship, and it doesn't have anything to do with her being in a wheelchair. It has everything to do with tradition and culture for the Thailand community. And I think that's also really important. When you write a disabled character, you don't want to make it all about the disability. You also don't want to erase it. I just thought this was done really well, and I also just really love Raisin. Another reason I was hooked into the story is Cheery Cheery. Cheery Cheery's her little pet. I love Cheery Cheery, but the story hooked me and stressed me out right from the beginning because Cheery Cheery is sick. And we spend this story partially going on this quest because A, it seems important to other people like Navani and people who are like being like, hey, you should go do this thing for us. But in theory, going there will be helpful to Cheery Cheery. So that's another part of it. And I think for once, I really like Lopin, or the Lopin, if you've read the series. He's always been this kind of wacky, humorous, kind of, I don't know, side of relief when we're in these stressful moments in Bridge 4. And he used to be one-armed, but when he became a Knight's Radiant Squire, he was able to grow that arm back because of Stormlight. Now, it doesn't really change his personality or outlook on the world. He kind of has always been the Lopin, but his interactions with Raisin are wonderful to me because he can relate to what she's going through how sometimes people try to avoid talking about her disability, and so his approach is always making jokes about it because people just need to kind of have it shoved in their face. And I just really liked the interaction between Raisin and the Lopin. I just thought it was actually the perfect pairing of supporting characters to have put on this little side quest. Now, that all said, if you are someone who is disabled and had different views of the story, I would love to hear it and talk to you about it in the comments. Like I said, not an Own Voices reviewer, but overall, I did think it was done really, really well. Some other small things I really liked while reading this story were getting to know about Thaylen culture. We've gotten a fair bit of it in Oathbringer, but just getting more of that sea life. It was just kind of nice and fun, and also the Lopin's cousin comes with, and up to this point, you don't get to know a lot about him because he doesn't really speak, Alethi, I think is actually what the language is called, but since he doesn't speak the language, we don't get to talk to him a lot, but there's a lot of scenes where the Lopin and him are talking, and he's brilliant. I really like this character. I hope we get more of his perspectives. It was just great getting to know him and how he's like kind of this engineer. I just thought he was really cool. There was a lot of cool like little like Fabrial stuff going on as they try to help Raisin make her wheelchair the ultimate access to freedom, because that's something she really has this relationship with her wheelchair, not as something she's trapped in per se, but this thing that helps her be free, helps her move about the ship and be active and be the trader she wants to be. I just really liked this novella. And now the big things that I really, really like, the Cosmere world building implications. And now I'm going to talk about my recommendation, and then we're going to go into the spoiler gush section. But my recommendation, do you need to read this before Rhythm of War? I kind of said this in my vlog. If you read the Stormlight Archives because you love the Cosmere and because you love all the world building and the reveals, you need to read Dawnshard. Period. End stop. Huge implications. Now, if you read the Stormlight Archives because you love the characters and you love the plot and you aren't as into the Cosmere, this is your first Sanderson, you don't care as much, you can probably hold off. You don't have to. Now, also, obviously, you might want to read this if you like Raisin and the Lopin and all those other things, but it's not essential probably for main plot moments. It might just be essential for huge world-building implications. And even if it is important for the story, I have the suspicion Sanderson's worked it in a way that you don't have to have read Dawnshard. That would be my suspicion. But now, I'll put it on the screen. We're going into the spoiler zone, because, whoop boy, I haven't had Cosmere reveals ever for a booktube channel, and I have some thoughts. So, what are Dawnshards? These things are so cool, and I feel like I've only vaguely had them talk to me in like Oathbringer, and now Raisin has a Dawnshard, and it's giving her biochromatic like symptoms. So if you haven't read Warbreaker, biochromatic stuff is the magic system, and the way Raisin sees the world at the end is very similar in description to how someone with a higher level of magic or breath or biochrome interacts with the world in Warbreaker. So that's really cool. That's a really, really cool thing. And Also, like, this shard was like talking about commands, and commands are really important for awakening, which is part of Warbreaker. And I guess something I should say, if you're not into Cosmere lore, is that everything has to do with investiture. All the magic systems are connected to this word investiture, and investiture is in all 3 realms of the Cosmere. There are 3 realms. There's spiritual, physical, and cognitive. And investiture is kind of like in our real world, it's like mass and energy. It cannot be created or destroyed, just redistributed or transformed. So it's kind of like thermodynamically, physically, it's the conserved entity in this world's pseudoscience, right? And it apparently has like 4 laws that govern it, and there are 4 Dawn shards. There are also 16 shards. I'm wondering if 4 of the shards connect with each Dawn shard, and if the Dawn shards are kind of like these commands for each of those 4 shards that used to be part of a whole. The Shattering is loosely explained more in the Mistborn trilogy. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I'm like, are these Dawn shards like these kind of like command code or variable things for these other shards? And what I mean by that is, like, when you have computer coding, you can't call a variable unless it's been defined. So are these like where the definitions and commands are that these other shards work off of to do their magic? It's probably not. And then also the Sleepless Ones, the Krem people who have just been like casually showing up in interludes and Edge Dancer, they're from another planet? Like, this whole Cosmere is going to become a sci-fi thing very soon, and I'm very here for it, and I'm now holding a pen. Anyways. I just thought it was really cool. Also, aluminum. Aluminum has been very important in many books, and it's also important here. And I want to know why. I think I was reading somewhere that Sanderson thought about making silver the equivalent of aluminum when he was working on Mistborn, but chose to make it aluminum because once you hit the industrial age, although aluminum is rare earlier on in civilization, it becomes more readily available. So then you could kind of have this technological, like, technology magic balance, so that just because you don't have access to the magic doesn't mean that you can't combat it or be just as powerful. So again, there's lots of world building and Cosmere implications, and if you have any theories, we can talk about it, but per everything, spoiler tags or I have to remove your comment. I don't want anyone to be spoiled. I don't want anyone to be spoiled in the comment sections of this video, but boy, am I excited for Rhythm of War. It's just been so long since I've gotten good Cosmere stuff. I think Secret of Mistborn was the last big one. No, Oathbringer probably. Although I feel like I got more. I'm now rambling. So that's this review. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.